And all right. I believe we're live. Let's go. Hey, welcome to the channel. We're going to be doing a market update for Brighton, Colorado. But for those of you who aren't necessarily like living here or interested in listing or buying here, there is something that you absolutely ought to consider looking into, which is going to be the first minute of this video. I'm going to show you why Brighton is a community that certainly deserves your looking into if you're looking at potentially purchasing here in Colorado, particularly for two reasons. So I'm going to get into a screen share. Guys, we're jumping right into this. We'll ask you to subscribe and do some things for me later, but I want to give you the value. So we're looking at real estate statistics for the greater Denver metro. And one of the things I want to point your eye to here real quick is you see the average sales price is $672. Well, if we back out all of the seven metros, the seven counties that make up Denver metro, and we just look at Brighton, your average sales price is $581. So you could potentially be looking at savings of, uh-oh, my camera stopped. Guys, I promise we're going to figure this out for us. Camera stopped. That's okay. We'll keep on rocking here, and hopefully this guy figures out himself. But you could be looking at a savings of like $90,000 if we're just looking solely at the price difference between the greater Denver metro and Brighton in specific. And so with that, there's an incredible savings. All right. Hey, let's hope this sticks. There's an incredible savings that you get from Brighton. Now, why is it cheaper? Well, the reality is location. If we're just kind of, talking black and white. But the great thing about Brighton, Colorado is location here is actually really underrated. People that are familiar with Colorado, people who've grown up here but weren't from Brighton, they think it's very far out of the way compared to like Denver metro, but it's really not. First off, we have two major highways. Let's just show you Google Earth, and then we'll get into more data and market stats. But first off, we have two major highways that are like 5 minutes from each other, and both make for a very quick drive down into Denver. So here's Brighton, all this red outline stuff you see here. So you've got Highway 85, Highway 76, like virtually from anywhere, whether you're central Brighton or you're a little west or a little east, like pick whatever highway you want to jump on. The great thing of being a little bit on the outskirts of Denver metro is that these highways aren't too congested. There's not a ton of traffic. And so it's a really quick shot into Denver, which these two highways converge. Highway 85 will turn into 76, or you jump on Highway 76, continue down to I-25, and you're in Denver, central Denver, within like 25 to 30 minutes, depending on traffic that day. Now, if there's traffic, it could be a little bit longer. But again, it's a quick drive because it's pretty much all highway. And that gets you straight into Denver. If you're heading to Arvada and Wheat Ridge, because you have Highway 76, it's about the same drive. And then you go to Thornton, Denver Premium Outlets, like everything's within a fairly quick drive, 20, 25 minutes to about anything you need to be to, not to mention quick drive to DIA. And then if you need to go north, like you're here, you're already north. And then the greatest thing is you've got E470 here. And so it even makes for a quick drive if you need to take E470 all the way down south. E470, for those of you guys not as familiar, is this kind of circle. I don't know if you could see my pointer, but it's this circle of a highway. It's this line. So follow this line, and it's that circle that pretty much kind of encompasses the greater Denver metro area. And it literally runs through Brighton. So very, very underrated in regard to location. And not to mention, like we've got a ton of things going on in Brighton. First off, you got Prairie Center here. So you've got plenty of shopping, plenty of restaurants, and they keep on building. We just got a Raising Cane's. We'll get it in and out here shortly. Dutch Bros Coffee. We've got an Olive Garden coming in. Guys, so many great things to say about Denver. And most of all, like the price is so much more attainable. For those of you less price conscious, well, that just means that you're going to get a much bigger of a house. You're likely going to be able to find that house on acreage, if you so desire, for a price that is so much more reasonable than if you're going anywhere west of I-25 or south Denver Metro. So that's why I think Brighton, in a very short, kind of concise way of explaining it, is something that is a community you absolutely should be putting your attention to if you're looking to move and buy a new home in Colorado this year, especially if you guys are upgrading. So with that, let's dive into stats and give you a market update for Brighton. And so what we're looking at here is average sell price per week. If you guys joined me last week, you know we don't have a whole lot of data points here. And by the way, I do a Brighton, Colorado market update every Tuesday. We're going to jump into Denver Metro, doing a live market update on Wednesdays. And then we'll do a YouTube video of a community tour or educational content every Friday. So please, please, please be sure to, first off, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We want to get this out to more people. We want to grow this channel, not just to provide you great information, but also to grow my reach in order to best serve and actually be your realtor. I've been licensed here in Colorado for 10 years and love nothing more to have these conversations with you and answer your specific questions, which, by the way, drop them in the chat. I'm here ready to answer them. But let's go into data. From what I was saying for last week, we didn't have all that much data points. I mean, it's the first of the year. It's not expected to have a bunch of data points. And why that's important is because we can't draw any conclusions yet. But we've got a second week of data that we're starting to see the very beginning stages of a trend line. And I'm excited to show you that. That's what we're going to get into right now. So give me 1 second here. Let me pull something up and I'll screen share. Dun, 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 dun. All right, let's do this. So we're gonna go back here, screen share, so that you guys can see what I'm looking at. You can't even see my camera. We're having issues with the camera today. Is what it is. All right, screen share. So you see this orange line? That's our first line, guys, of the year. You've got week 1 and you've got week 2. And you can see there's a significant drop. Well, it looks to be significant. It's actually only 567 to a little over 10K of average sales price per week. So we're seeing a drop in price. Well, because I know how to look at data, we add all these charts in. It's not all that significant. It's a wee little blip in the matrix here. And what's cool about this is you've seen much sharper declines going into the start of year. If you look at 2023, you see this huge line. Yeah, we're not seeing that. We could maybe in this third, fourth week of January, but here's the good thing. This is normal. As you can see, most of these charts outside of 2020 was a completely different market. But if we look at 22, 23, 24, 25, all these charts are acting the same. And the reason why you're seeing a dip in price is because all these homes are the ones that have sold and were listed in December, the slowest time of the year. So it's to be expected, and that's what we like to see. We like to see trend lines that are acting normal and mimicking other markets. You see median sales price. We have a bit of a jump compared to last year. And guys, this is Brighton, Colorado, not Denver Metro, and I would just want to make sure we're clear on that. If you can see all this mess, it's good that it's a mess because it's telling us that these charts are fairly similar. Where you get these big gaps, that's where you say, okay, well, what was going on here? Why didn't this mimic all the other markets? But what we really want to look at is not 2020, not 2021, because those years were anomalies. We had incredibly low rates, so they don't give us a whole lot in regard to reading data. And to be quite frank, we even back out, 26, 27, 28, 2019, even though those markets mirror more closely the markets we're in now. But let's look at 22, 3, 4, and 2025, just so we can start to get an idea of the relationship between where we're at in 2025 compared to other years. So we can kind of come to conclusions as to, okay, what's the market doing? Look, if I just showed you this 2025 mark, like, how do you make sense of that? You don't until you look at the past. And then you say, okay, Where are we at relative to these other markets? Are we way off? Are we seeing new trends? Or are we seeing the market kind of react as it normally does? As you can see in 2024, 23, we had a dip in new listings count going from the first week of January all the way into the third week. And then it started to pick up. You're already starting to see a pickup in week 2. We went from 12 listings to 20 listings just in a week. So like not significant. I'm not like, oh my gosh, guys, whoa, we've got a problem here. No, like it's in the ballpark of where we're typically at this time of year. So not all that concerned. In fact, we had a really low data point week 1 as opposed to 23 and 2024, to where even though we're up this week, where those years we were down, like it's right on par for what we've seen in previous years. Same thing for under contract count. This is saying, hey, per week, how many homes are going under contract? We like to see this increase, and we expect to see it increase. The reason we expect to see it increase is because it did in 2022, in 21, in 23, in 24, and now it's happening in 25. It's just the way the market works, guys. And if you look, again, pull out 2020, pull out 2021, these are fairly similar. You see a little bit of a gap here, but for the most part, you kind of see it go up and then it stutter off and then it kind of go down year over year. And that's just the ebbs and flows of the market. Generally picks up in January. The market activity you see increase going into spring, and then it plateaus and then falls down into December. Sold count, we saw a big decrease in sold count. Nothing to be concerned of. Too early to tell. What I do love to see is average list to contract when you put a sign in the yard. It's the time between when you put a sign in the yard and you go under contract. You can see from week 1 to week 2, we've seen a big decrease. That's good. From my perspective, that's good. That's healthy for the market, and it's par for the course, as you see almost every year. Take 2020 out, 21 out, and you see generally from 23, 24, and 25 a decrease, and that's normal. Market starts to pick up in January. So, of course, you would see a decrease in how long it takes a listing to go under contract. And then you've got a bunch of data points down here. Let me see if there's anything significant that I'd like you guys to be privy to. List to sell. No, let's go into showings. Now, showing data isn't going to be specific to Brighton because it's just too small a data set. Well, let me see, actually. No, this is Denver Metro as a whole. But I think it's important that we translate this data into, okay, what are we seeing in Brighton versus showings? Are we seeing similarities, etc.? I'll make the connection here shortly. Guys, if you have any questions, drop them below. I want to talk to you. I want to know where you're tuning in from. I want to know what's important to you. We're gonna kind of hurry this up in the sense of I just want to go through a couple more things. Then I'll give you some general recommendations, some general insight as a seller and buyer, and then we're gonna hop off. Total showings, big increase. You see this line right here? Let me make sure I'm showing you the right one. No, I don't think you can see this line. So let's move this over. Haha. Now you can see the line. You see this line right on you see how it just completely jumped up? Awesome. That means showing activity is picking up. Weekly showings by year, you could see this line. Showing activity is peaking up. This is essentially the same chart, but this shows total showings from 2018, and it gives you all the line items for each month, whereas this one's showing week by week. Again, back out 2020, 21. We're actually pacing way higher than we were in 2024. Awesome. That is great news because it's showing that showing demand is keeping up with listings. So the supply and demand ratio is looking good. Don't love to see this in terms of the big gap between inventory from 24 to 25, but relatively speaking, it's not a surprise because end of 2024, the last week, we were at 6,800, call it 6,900 listings, and we're at 6,900 now. So it's about even to where we were and ended the year. Let's just hope there's not this big gap between this red and yellow line, orangish line once we get into springtime, because that means we would have a significant increase in inventory, where we already have that significant increase in inventory as referenced right here in the graph. And so all I am seeing is just standard data points that show the market's healthy. It's acting in the same way it typically does every year. Again, a little too early to really see where the trend lines are coming in at, but everything I'm looking at here is positive. It's good. We're not seeing anything abnormal. And generally, when it's not abnormal, that's healthy. That means it's a healthy market. Questions, guys, drop them in the comments. Otherwise, sellers, if you're not new to the channel, you've heard me say this before, you'll hear me say it again. The time to list is now, guys. Like, the time to start having those conversations and figure it out is now, because likely by the time you list, it's going to be February, March. You've really got a window between like mid-February to about mid-April-ish of like the best time to sell historically. If you sell a little before February or a little after April, you're in really good shape still. But you tend to, if you can control it, not want to slip into, you tend to not want to slip into like July, August, because then we start to see this downtrend in the market. So sellers, now is the time to start having those conversations. If you don't have somebody to have those conversations with, here's my number, 303-332-1108. As much as I love doing these live videos, I love being able to serve you as your realtor even more. I've been licensed for 10 years. As you can see, I do market trends. I do like all of this, yes, is to be able to attract new clients and meet new people and be able to serve you in a very high level. But like this data trends and the reason I search all this is because when you call me, I need to know what I'm talking about in order to advise you properly and put you in the best position possible to sell your house for the most amount of money possible, and ultimately achieve your goals. And so if you are even slightly considering selling your home, feel free to reach out. Again, 303-332-1108. Buyers. Good news for you is that in general, I think we're going to be in a balanced market to where even when it's good for sellers, there's going to be some pros for you. However, generally speaking, statistically, when we look at seasonal trends, get in before February or get in after July. Because what happens is pricing is going to go up. So if we're January right here, let me try to like do this right for you. For January, well, you want to get in before pricing hits here. And if you don't get in by like this time, then maybe wait, because the market will kind of do this usually, and buy sometime in the fall or Q4. Q4 is the best time to buy, period. You already missed the boat on that unless you wait until Q4 2025. But relatively speaking, I think you're going to have some good opportunity in today's market. Look for those homes that have been on the market 60 plus days. You have a lot of agents that don't do this analytical stuff, and end up pricing way too high. And what generally happens is they end up falling down this rabbit hole of price drops. And that's really where you're going to be able to leverage negotiations most of the time. Investors, guys, there's always deals. Call your agent, get out there, make stuff happen, and you'll find them. Buyers, sellers would love to support you. You've got some general insight into the market. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Going forward on Tuesdays for the Brighton, Colorado updates, I'm going to get very much more granular. I'm going to get much more granular in the data. We're not just going to look at the chart I showed you today. We're going to really narrow in on and start to build our own trends from more of a numbers perspective. Instead of like looking at the trend lines, we're going to look at, okay, how many new listings versus how many under contracts versus solds, and like how do you draw any conclusions to that if you are a seller, if you are a buyer, to really set you up for success in today's market. And so just know we're dialing these live videos in every single week. The goal here is to be able to present this information in a way that not only makes sense, but that's actionable. Like none of this matters if you don't know what to do with it. The goal on this channel is to present the data and help you figure out what to do with it. And so please be sure to subscribe so you get notified of these videos, because the reality is, if you're catching not all of this video, I tried to do some evergreen, meaning half of the video is going to be relevant, even if you watch 4 years from now, generally speaking. And then the other half is going to be outdated by next week, right? Because we're going to be talking about next week's trends and then the following week's trends, etc. So be sure to subscribe, and do me a favor, like the channel, like the video, jot down a comment, or share with the people you love and care about and that you know need to hear this stuff. I would greatly appreciate it. It goes so much further than you might know in me growing this channel. And every like, every comment, every share, every subscriber means the world. So thank you, fam, for joining. I appreciate you. We'll catch you on tomorrow's live video of the Denver metro market. I'm gonna stir up something fun for you guys and very, very valuable. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but we'll go through the boring side of this, and then we'll get into the exciting side of this, and we'll find something exciting for you. Exciting in regard to the real estate market. And then, of course, we'll have our Friday video as we do every week. So stay tuned. Thank you for joining, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.